thing. And when you consider that Tammany Hall and all those political institutions you have were all originally peopled by Irish people, you know what it's like. Village politics have always been very powerful.
These buildings are very cute to live in. Wow.
The one thing to remember about driving in Ireland is he who hesitates is always lost. So even though my wife gives out to me continually for being aggressive, to survive you have to be. Otherwise stay at home.
Probably have a lot of work.
About 9 feet, I think, is the height of it. We don't have very big tides here in this coast at all. Over to the right is the largest island off the Irish coast. It's the island of Valentia, and it's about 7 miles long, about 2.5 miles wide, and 600 people live on it today. It's an interesting island in that from Valentia to a place called St. John's, Newfoundland, is the shortest distance from the Old World to the New World, 1,900 miles. And it was from Valentia that the first transatlantic telegraph cable was laid successfully in August 1866. And that was as big a step forward in human endeavor then as the Apollo space mission was in the last century. Because suddenly information that took 4 to 6 weeks to cross the Atlantic was almost instantaneous through the medium of Morse code. And it cost £1 a word then to send a cable. But they were able to connect up the London financial market to the New York financial market. They were able to send over details of weather forecasting and general news of war and everything else. And it opened up a whole lot of possibilities. By the end of the last, of that century, forget now that we're in a new century. There were 18 lines eventually running from Valentia to the New World. And the white buildings you see over on the water's edge, that's the village of Knightstown on Valentia where the cable came ashore. And the next little town we go through, which is called Waterville, that's where the cable station was. It was a man from Chicago called Cyrus Westfield. He was the main promoter of the transatlantic cable, and he had made a lot of money as a young man in the paper business, and he just felt like spending some money and doing something like that. And they had a failure in 1857, and they had a failure in 1865, and eventually they got it right in 1866, but they lost a lot of money before they got it right, because they're going into the unknown with sending electrical impulses over such a long distance. They were going into the unknown with cable manufacture. Rubber hadn't been perfected. It was an early form of rubber called gutta-percha they were using. There was a whole lot of problems with electrolysis between steel on the outside and copper on the inside. All kinds of problems that hadn't been foreseen. They didn't know about it. It has a website now, the story of the Atlantic Cable, if any of you are interested. And that's the road to Valencia. Question about the timber. The original trees in this country were the broadleaf trees, the oak, the elm, the ash, the beech, and the sycamore. And 1,000 years ago, this country was all forest. However, for about 400 years, we were dominated by operation when it was going full tilt. But by 1962, it had come to the end of its useful life, and there was more sophisticated means of getting information across the Atlantic. So we're going to be climbing out of Waterville now and going up 600 feet above sea level in a few moments. And then we'll come up to the finest view on the ring, which is the flat piece of ground in the middle of the picture. You can see a coach up on it, straight ahead. That's the Butler Arms Hotel where the Chaplin family used to stay year after year. Still a good hotel. The bronze statue is here on the right in a moment. There it is.
Oh, there.
With his walking stick. There's Charlie. Waterville Bay.
Do they catch lobster around here?
Yeah, lobster and cod and mackerel and herring and plaice. And lemon sole and black sole, which is the most expensive of the sole family. And the pink houses over here rent an Irish cottage. And here on the left is a stream, and that stream gives access to the sea trout, and they go into the lake which is further in there. The big lake called Loch Coron. So now we must climb for the next 15 minutes or so, and as we go up, we may eventually be able to see the Skellig Rock over to the right. It's a sheer rock which rises up from the Atlantic floor, about 15 miles away from here, and it's a 7th century monastic site. On a hill up here on the left are some standing stones. You'll see them in a moment, and it's an ancient Celtic burial site about 1,500 years old. The Celts came here between 500 BC and 400 AD, and they came in waves over centuries. They originated down around the Salzburg region of Austria. What happened was, anytime they took the Romans on, they lost, and the Romans kept driving them further and further west, and that's why they ended up in places as diverse as Galicia in Spain, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, Cornwall, Brittany in France, and the Isle of Man. They divided this country up into 150 small kingdoms with 6 over-kings. The cow was the Celtic unit of currency. They had a Druidic system of religion. They believed in fostering out children to widen the scope of the family unit. One big problem with Celtic history is it's oral history. There's no written down history. And you find a lot of Celtic scholars make a living disagreeing with each other. We have to wait until the next invasion, which was the Christian invasion. St. Patrick brought Christianity to Ireland in 432. And we have to wait until that period before we have any written down history. You had monks in monasteries recording everything that occurred. Anything that was newsworthy then is equally newsworthy today. So there are lots of books in existence in libraries all over the world relative to that period of our history. Then some of the monks were more adventurous than others. You had St. Brendan, who I mentioned earlier, a famous navigator, St. Columba, who went to the island of Iona off Scotland, where he founded a monastic settlement, and St. Columbanus, who did something similar in France and Italy. Ultimately, in the 9th century, there were Viking raids. There was a social revolution in the Scandinavian countries at that time because of the doctrine of primogeniture, where the eldest of a family inherited everything and there was nothing for the others. And in that revolution, the Swedes tended to go east towards Russia, and the Norwegians and the Danes came south and west. And they travelled in long boats. They were wonderful navigators. In this country, they went up the estuaries of all our rivers, and that's why Dublin, Cork, Limerick and Waterford were all originally Viking settlements. They occupied the United Kingdom as well, quite a sizable portion of it, for many years. We finally beat the Danes at the Battle of Clontarf near Dublin in 1014. I think it's going to be difficult to see the Skellig Rock today. It looks like a heat haze over on the right.
Yeah.
You can just about make out the big rock over to the right outside the headland.
Oh, yeah.
It has 2 peaks on it. Do you see it?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's the Skellig of St. Michael. That's 15 miles away, so visibility isn't that bad. These guys are grazing on the Long Acre. They're the IRA ones. They're on the run. Now we're making our way up to where you see the coach parked above on the right. That's an area called Kumakista. Lowland sheep are unpredictable, mountain sheep are not.
Big round thing down there made of stone. Way down there. You see it?
Fire pit.
That's a big fire pit.
Wow.
to do away with the curve here in the future. Whoa, I can see why.
Now a nice view of Waterville Bay on the right.
We took pictures of Mount St. Helens for around 45 minutes through a car, and it came up perfect.
You did, really?
Yeah, just like this.
Camp?
Yeah.
With the camp, yeah.
Came out just like you're looking at it.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at those pictures.
I think I'll put it on pause. Looks like we're going to stop.
Oh, look at that. Come on.
Now the islands on the right, the Scariff Islands. The big peninsula you can see through the gloom sticking out over there is the Beara Peninsula, which is in County Cork. So just some nice photographs.
Sure.
Zoom can do. Wow. When you got the zoom fully extended, any shaking makes it go all over the place. I lost my wife. Where'd she go?
Not that easy.
I got 38 minutes left on this.
Now they're the psychedelic sheep. They use them to keep the shipping off the rocks. See the way they all got their backs turned to the sea? It's training for you. Look, it's the same up there. Oh, it's all privately owned. Yeah.
What was that a statue of back there?
That statue was put up by local parishioners in 1954 in honor of the Blessed Virgin. And there's an inscription in Gaelic on the base of it to that effect.
Put my arm up and take her to nowhere.
No, it's cheap. It's available.
Sounds like a good.
No. they just run.
Down there on the right was where Daniel O'Connell's house was. Just down there. It's called Derrynagh.
Called West Cove.
Oh yes, July and August would be the only months you could comfortably swim in the sea. You'd want to be some kind of a masochist to go in otherwise. That must be one over there.
Yeah.
300,000 of a population at that time, and 100,000 were dead after the 3-year period. Which is a bit of social history because the seas were teeming with fish, so why didn't they use fish? But there's an awful lot of imponderables about the Irish famine, the later famine, because those that survived had a guilt complex. So there was very little contemporaneous writing about it, and 150th anniversary of it in 1997, there was a lot written in the newspapers then, much more than I ever learned going to school. But the guilt complex was the big thing, that you survived and I died, so you ended up with a guilt complex. Much like the Germans feel about the war. You know what they say, don't mention the war. Don't mention the famine. It wasn't spoken about. Wouldn't do to go straight on. Now, is that nice?
Beautiful. It's okay, I want you in the picture.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Can you take this again? No.